it really didn't take off after the fact. Like there weren't any Miyagi-Do like karate dojos that were just also Miyagi-Do. Whatever, man. Whatever. You get me.
Okay. Yeah.
It's been a long day, and I've
Miyagi
just
Dojo.
yeah. Miyagi-Do. Yeah, there wasn't any like karate dojos that were also then a car wash like combination. There should have been. They should have really leaned
missed a
into
trick, didn't they? They missed a trick.
Absolutely.
Paint my fence and also learn karate.
Right. Black belt fence painting.
It's the same thing. Okay, welcome back, Screamers, to another episode where we examine the other people, the younger, better versions of ourselves, living just under our skin. Today, we're looking at 3 new films, The Substance, Booger, and Strange Darling. This is going to get us right in the mood for Kelly Reichardt, which we'll start with the next episode. Listen, wait. I want to tell people that they make sure to rate and review the show. Right?
Oh, yeah?
Leave a 5-star review. Listen to the show, leave a 5-star review, and then in the comments you can tell us how much we suck and that everyone should go listen to like Battleship Pretension or something else. That's fine. But
right. Yeah.
Just give us the 5 stars.
Pause it right now. Go off to a computer or a phone or however you can rate things. Rate it 5 stars. 5 stars. If you love the podcast, 5 stars means that you love it. That you're showing that you love it. If you hate the podcast, 5 stars means it's just an inverted measurement system.
It shows how much you hate it.
It shows I hate this 5 stars much.
Yeah, exactly. Hi, Jason.
How's it going, man?
It's going. It's been a long day.
Yeah,
it has been a long day.
I understand.
Yeah.
Movies are fun though, right?
I like movies.
They are good.
I feel like that is a song. Okay, all right. So we got 3 to talk about. You just want to jump in here?
Let's just do it. Yeah.
I want to start with The Substance because I find it the most interesting.
Okay. Great.
So The Substance.
People always ask for something new. It's inevitable. At 50, well, it stops.
Have you ever dreamt of a better version of yourself? Younger, more beautiful, more perfect. One single injection unlocks your DNA and will release another version of yourself. This is The Substance.
I'm Sue.
You're hired.
Let's go.
A perfect balance of 7 days each. The one and only thing not to forget. You are one. You can't escape from yourself.
There's been a slight misuse of the substance.
This balance is not working.
Would you like to stop? Would you like to stop? Would you like to stop? Would you like to stop?
I'm fine. Everything's fine.
You have to control yourself! Old, fat, disgusting.
People are gonna love that.
A fading celebrity decides to use a black market drug, a self-replicating substance that temporarily creates a younger, better version of herself. Okay, I don't love this movie. I like it. I do. But for me, it falls a little short. I think it lacks like nuance, and because of that, I think it also lacks a level of critical insight or social insight that I think it purports to have. I think this film is proving to be divisive, which means there's a lot to talk about with this film, right? I think this is a good thing. But I think the message is pretty simple, right? Right? I mean, the world is a sexist place, and it pushes women to never-ending lengths to maintain their physical appearance and thus desirability.
Yeah, but I think it's a little bit more nuanced than that.
Do you, though?
I do, and I think actually with
Margaret, a hot-ass Margaret Qualley crawls out of Demi Moore's back.
Right.
In all glistening nakedness.
But I don't think it's just as simple as what we have to give of ourselves to maintain that level of beauty. I think there's layers to this other than just a black market drug in order to maintain beauty. And obviously this is a metaphor for a lot of different things. But I mean, I think that if you slice it up, where I think there's different levels of how to look at this, not just from the physical beauty portion of it, just what it takes to be a woman in today's world anyway. I mean, I think once you get to the final, and we can kind of go through the plot here in a minute. It's a pretty simplistic plot for the most part. But once you get to the breast falling out of the monster, from their eye,
monster's eye.
The spraying of blood all over all over the audience, which obviously is speaking about menstruation. I think there's levels to this that you can kind of see. I think this idea of like, once Demi Moore has bought into the substance and what it can do for her, I think this idea of not being able to give that up says something. I also think this idea of...
But doesn't that speak to what I just said?
It does.
Okay.
It does. But I also think this idea of Demi Moore kind of being shut off into a closet and hidden away while her quote unquote better self or more vain self or exists out in the world, and then just drains more and more of who I know this. The movie says that there is only the one, right? There's no you and her. This is just the one. But I think I don't know. I think on multiple viewings, I think that this actually will give back more and more. I think you'll be able to see more and more than just the sledgehammer that it hits you over the head with.
And I even said this to you, right? I'm like, I think I need to see this again.
Yeah.
Have you seen it more than once?
I've seen it twice, yeah.
Oh, what a humble brag. I'm Jason, and I have time to go see movies whenever I want. No, like I said, I can see, I see that. And I don't want to, I'm not here to bash this movie because I don't hate it. Right. I just haven't quite, I think, gotten to the level of love on this film that maybe you have. And I feel like, I don't know. I feel like, we're starting off with this idea of the monstrous feminine, right? Barbara Creed's monstrous feminine kind of idea. But I don't know what else we're doing with that idea. I'm not entirely sure that there's anything new being done here. And that sounds like a kind of pompous thing to say. Or, what I mean is I think it sounds foolish maybe to expect a film to teach me something new, right? I don't know that that's fair to expect that. So I want to sort of lay that out there. And I also want to acknowledge part of my not loving this film is probably just because of aesthetics. Like I said, I don't like the sledgehammer approach. And I know there's more there, but I'm just like, man, it's a lot of sledgehammer, though.
Right, but I think we say this all the time on this podcast, especially when we're talking with Spike Lee films. Like, why do we continually have to have these conversations over and over and over again? And I think this is one for the back row, right?
Yeah,
this is taking.
Sure.
And I think, I kept kind of struggling with Dennis Quaid's role in this movie, not his character, but like him as a human being, his role in this movie. And is it a commentary taking this guy who has essentially sold his soul to have a career rejuvenation on Fox fucking Nation, right? The offshoot online version of Fox News, where you're just this right-wing puppet, this Christian nationalist horseshit that exists. And then you put him in this role where I don't it's either a genius move or he's pulling some sort of ridiculous Kaufman-esque meta commentary on the whole damn thing, or he just needs the money. I can't really kind of like, I can't wrap my head around why he would be in this. Now, granted, here's the thing. To be fair, I don't know all of his politics. I know that he goes on Fox Nation and is singing Christian country western songs.
That's kind of enough. I don't know that you need to know anymore.
No.
I mean,
I get that. But what I don't know is, I mean, that you can do that and not be a horrible human being. I mean, aside from the Fox Nation part, right? You could sing Christian country western songs.
This is true.
That's fine. I don't care. I mean, like, look, go make your bag however you want to make your bag.
But like, can you play Reagan and not be
right?
And I mean that in a serious way.
Can you be this guy who clearly aligns with, and again, I don't want to get into, but like you have to argue that
highlight his like past kind of misogynistic behavior anyway, right?
Yeah. Even how he treated Meg. So I mean, like,
that's
right. Yeah. So this idea of that you're going to be a mustache twirling villain in this, where you're dressing in audacious suits and like, and you're just and you're just grotesque in the way that you eat and the way that you behave and the way that you're framed and filmed. You had to have known when you took this role that this is what this is going to be, and the message that this is what. I mean, granted, maybe on paper this doesn't read quite as, but once you're there on the days of the shoot, you have to realize this is who this is. I mean, this is what you're going to be, and also you're a quote unquote big enough star to be able to control that, right? So if the director is pulling Quaid in to really drive that point home, then I think that's obviously the handle of the sledgehammer in this case.
Yeah, I think one of the things that also confuses me about this film that maybe speaks to some of this is that very much like her first feature, Revenge, I find the camera in this to be pretty lecherous, to be pretty leery on the female form. And that confused me. I'm like watching this, and I know I've read a lot. I've just read a lot. I was trying to seek, after I saw this film, I was trying to seek out as many reviews as I could on kind of both sides, right? And I feel like there is no middle of the road with this film. It's like people, like, and mostly like women writers. Some women love it. Some women are like, fuck this thing, right? And it's all over the place. Where was I going with that?
Not sure.
Oh no! Oh right, I know.
It was the lecherous view.
So as I was watching it, I found the camera very leery, very lecherous, very kind of like male gazy. And then there were other things I read that were talking about how the camera was like non-judgmental, and that these nude scenes were non-sexual. And I'm like, I didn't feel that way at all watching the film. I felt, especially when Margaret Qualley was birthed.
Right.
I thought that she was very much kind of like this wide-eyed, freshly hatched, like everything is amazing, especially my ass.
Right. She's looking at her body in the mirror and like just in really kind of an amazement because under that point her only knowledge is being Demi Moore, is being Elizabeth Sparkles.
I was confused by that.
So this is I don't want to dig too much. We can. But like personally, like I agree with you. Well, I agree with what I think you're going to be saying is that the sci-fi element like doesn't bear when you dig into it too deeply. Like the metaphor kind of falls apart because we don't know when they split apart, the consciousness seems to split apart. So the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing once they're separated from one another, once the consciousness passes back and forth. So whether or not Margaret Qualley and Sue in this case is when Sue is born, my assumption is maybe she doesn't have any sort of knowledge of what Elizabeth has done or is, or any of that thing, that she really is a new entity that exists, and this struggle between old self and new self. So yeah, I agree with you. I don't know how much that, but when she pops out, she's amazed at her body. One would think that, especially at this phase in the film, that there is at least some knowledge of the past, because when she comes out, she's amazed at her perfect body, essentially.
Yeah, it's I don't know how to feel about the separation of the consciousness, but also there is no, you and her. There's just one.
And so going back to your point about the lecherous gaze, I will say that it worked for me differently in Revenge, which is her first kind of rape revenge story, because it did seem like we were sexualizing that main character, like almost to the point where it seemed like that was like she was almost asking for, and again, that's not what I'm saying, but like it seemed like the camera was saying that she was asking for, or at least she was putting herself in a position to be, taken advantage of, to be raped in that instance.
But I think in that film, I'm sorry, I don't mean
no, it's fine.
But I think in that film, then that kind of like subversive male gaze, I think works. Because if we're like, oh my God, this is kind of like over the top in terms of like how the camera's framing her, that maybe makes a little more sense to me. Now, I don't love that film either.
No, I don't really care. I mean, it's okay for what it does, but it's not the greatest.
No, I think this is a much better film than that. But I can kind of understand that, right? Like we're going to really leer and really be kind of over the top in this kind of, oh, maybe she's asking for it, because that's what those men are thinking and saying. And here, I'm not quite sure.
Well, if you take this as again, speaking to the back row, getting people to lean forward so you can smash them over the head with a sledgehammer is exactly why I think what the filmmaker is doing here. Yeah. I think that they're showing, like, you see Demi Moore doing her exercise videos and she's gorgeous, right? I mean, and then you see her after she decides to take the substance, and you see her examining her own body, and it's still great. I mean, but it's not 20 years old, right? It's right. So, so I think that to me, that was the point of that, was to, and yes, even her younger self then still buying into it when she becomes Sue and she takes on the persona of Elizabeth Sparkle's exercise videos, and I forget what the show was called, Get Up on It or some bullshit, like, I was probably close to that. It wasn't, I don't think it was exactly it, but it was close.
Pump It Up.
Pump It.
I don't know.
Yeah, it might have been, right. And it was different. It was a different show when Sue was on it. It wasn't just Elizabeth Sparkles and whatever. But I think that's the point. I think the whole point is that you're all grotesque, and that this is, and even women to a certain extent are I mean, like, buy into the male gaze, buy into the need to be, whatever that picturesque thing is, and it obviously changes throughout time, but I think that's the intent. I think this is, again, just a matter of like how many fucking times we have to say it. If I'm gonna say it, then I'm gonna fucking say it. Yeah. And I'm gonna spray blood all over the audience. I'm gonna have a breast fall out of my head.
Yeah. I mean, I thought so. Before I talk about the monster, I wanted to go back to like what you just said. I mean, we keep talking about the sledgehammer, but Ferge has commented herself on how she has an affinity for imagery and symbolism and metaphor to state a simple message in a very powerful way.
Right.
And so I think, okay, fair enough, right? when I think about that, I'm like, okay, yeah, fair enough with this film then, right? The monster at the end is
So let's get to the plot real quick. Just to
okay,
get people, just to get people so they can understand what it. So basically, what happens is that Demi Moore is Elizabeth Sparkles. She is she's an Oscar-winning actress who now is on a daily televised exercise show. She's turned 50, and so Dennis Quaid is the one. He's like a showrunner essentially,
studio head maybe, yeah.
And while at a hospital, basically Demi Moore gets a card for this organization called, and they provide this what's called.
You skipped over
substance.
her getting fired.
Right, she gets fired. Yeah, that's true. That's right. Dennis Quaid's like, he sees her. He comes into a woman's bathroom because he's an asshole and doesn't care where he pees, right? And he's making all these comments about Demi Moore and how she's not fuckable anymore, and he needs to find someone young, and that he doesn't care that she's won an Oscar. So yes, she gets fired. They give her a bunch of flowers and
in a cookbook,
right? And this is all on her birthday, right? So it's all on her birthday, and then she passes out, right? So she goes to the hospital, and there's a male nurse there that hands her a card.
She gets in a car wreck.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting about the car wreck. That's the scariest part for me, and I just blocked it out. That's why. Right.
As they're tearing her poster down.
Right. She looks up, runs through an intersection, and gets hit by a car. So they give her this they basically give her this thumb drive that kind of explains to her what the substance is, which I thought that was really that whole sequence of the commercial was kind of silly because it was really kind of like an Mentos commercial for the substance.
Right. But I love. Can we just say, like, I love Fabergé's. So even though I talk about her camera being like leery and lecherous, I love what she does in this film with the camera, like the fisheye lens of watching Dennis Quaid eat these shrimp, and it's just so disgusting and so gross. But then we get this shot from the garbage can, right? When Demi Moore throws away the thumb drive, we get this shot from the garbage can of her digging into it to find the thumb drive, which I thought was a really good, a nice move. You know?
So she gets an address to go get the substance. It's in this dingy, like she has to she has to open up this garage door, this storage locker door, and it's like halfway open. So there's all it's just a duck under. Right. And she gets this kit basically, and she injects herself and essentially splits herself into two people, a young version and a current version. And then, of course, what happened, there's an explanation in the video about how the 1 week on and 1 week off. So if everything goes well and goes to plan, you can live 1 week as an old person to rejuvenate the juices, and you can live 1 week as your young, better self, a more put together, beautiful version of yourself. And so in order to do that, there's all these kind of rules. Essentially, it's just the week on, week off. But the young person has to extract juice from you to inject it into themselves so they can maintain. And they also have to feed you this other kind of quote unquote juice during the 7 days which you're out. And so that's the whole scam. Now, the what happens is obviously Margaret Qualley doesn't want to give up that life anymore, and she continues to abuse the 7-day period. And this causes Demi Moore to physically break down and to kind of deform. And at some point, Margaret Qualley decides to stop going back and giving over the consciousness to Demi Moore. She runs out of rejuvenation juice, and she has to inject herself. She starts to fall apart because she can no longer
literally fall apart.
Right, teeth start falling out. She's starting to bleed from the
ear
nose.
fell off.
Ears falls off, and so she has a little bit of the substance left over. And it's supposed to be a one-time use only. It says so very big letters. And
that's how you know.
Right. And so she injects herself again. She's about to do this huge New Year's Eve show where she's like the biggest star in the world at this point. She's going to be the star of this New Year's Eve show. And so she injects herself again in order to like maintain and what comes out of her. And not just splitting into two now, there's all kinds of entities. We don't have any idea how many come out. And she turns into this gigantic beast of many whatevers. I mean, like there's just a ton of people in this thing, a face on a shoulder.
Many Moores and many Quallies.
Right, yes. Yeah.
But I love the mask.
Right. So in order to go on to continue to do the show, now that she's this monster, she goes back up to her apartment and cuts a poster of Demi Moore's face that she has hanging in her apartment and staples it onto her face. She's like stabbing earrings into the side of her head. And she's in this dress. And then she goes out, and of course she's starting to like talk to the people. The face falls off. Everyone screams, calls her a beast. She runs out.
But I love how they let her in with the face.
Right,
on.
yeah. They notice nothing is wrong. Demi Moore's face is literally a paper face that's stapled onto this thing's head. And of course, then it becomes a Frankenstein's monster type thing where she runs, she falls, she explodes, and then Demi Moore's face is in this gelatinous blob of whatever. Crawls back to her Hollywood Star Walk of Fame and looks up at the sky and sees sparkles and then just disappears. And then she gets washed away by a street cleaner, and the only thing we have to remember her by is her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Anyway, you were saying so we got to the monster part.
Yeah.
So that's the plot of The Substance, guys.
I think I was really hoping at the end that when the mask fell off that everyone was just going to applaud wildly.
I thought that might happen too.
I was like, that'd be kind of cool. I also wonder why this never turned violent.
Like where she attacks? Because
sure.
I think that's part of it.
Is that
though,
too
right?
easy though? Is that just, or is that kind of talking about the submissiveness that takes place into?
I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't ring true if she like exacts her revenge in this case. Like, I mean, because she, again, we chew these women up and spit them out.
Right,
And,
right.
you know, and I think the revenge kind of is, well, if you're going to call me a freak, then I'm going to show you all the
I'll
things.
show you what a freak really is.
Right. Well, and also I'll expose all the things that I hide about myself, and like just from a physical perspective. So, and I'll expose them. So you'll have to, you know, you can't turn away from them.
So
right?
you have to face it. You have to deal with it.
Right.
So you think I'm a monster because I'm getting older,
But-
right? Or just because I'm a woman. So let me show you how much of a
Right.
monster I can be.
Or what we go. Well, I think it's just a more matter of like, at this point you've been exposed so much, and it really is to not really your fault. Then just
Right.
might as well show it all, right?
Yeah.
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 We breastfeed and our breasts sag, and they also fall out of our face, right?
Fall out of our
and
eye
I
sockets.
menstruate, so I'm gonna spew blood
Blood
all
all
over the audience.
Yeah. Which, I mean, you know.
And to the point where like
menstruation is, men can't handle that anymore. Right.
Right.
No. Yeah.
And to the point where then all I have left is this hulk of a shell of a thing. And then the only dignity I have is my face is going to crawl to the only accolade you ever gave me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to crawl to that and hang on to that for as long as I can, and have one brief moment of calm and respite and like and peace, and being able to see maybe some adoration of fake sparkles coming down on
Right.
you, and then that's it.
That's it. Yeah. I also think it's interesting that a lot of the body horror, right? I mean, because this is billed as body horror.
Sure.
The horror isn't the sort of back splitting open, and again, Margaret Qualley being born that way.
Right.
But the body horror does seem to center around the aging female body, right?
Mhm.
I mean, the body horror is depicted through Demi Moore, her character getting older and older and older. And I thought that was telling. I thought that was really smart, right?
Yeah.
In terms of like, yes, this is how we kind of look at
Right.
this. This is how we
Quali
see
never
that.
suffers the slings and arrows of having the bond broken between the
Right.
two of them,
Right.
right? She continues, as long as she can extract rejuvenation juice from, and I know that's not the technical term, from
the technical term for the made up substance, right?
right.
In the
The,
fictional movie. Yeah.
as long as she can extract juice from Demi Moore, then she's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
she and thrives, and people think that she's even more beautiful than she was a moment before that she injected herself. It's only until she runs out that her teeth start falling off, or out, and her ear starts falling off. But right, everything that happens, the first thing that happens is Demi Moore notices a finger that's kind of wrinkled and gross, and then as it goes on, she wakes up and her entire leg is,
Right.
and then at that point, and I think also the fight between, so at one point they're both awake when Demi Moore is basically, she's a monster, but she's just kind of old and decrepit and like wrinkled because of what Margaret Qualley did. And Margaret Qualley is like fighting with her. They both fight with each other. And Margaret Qualley like just takes Demi Moore's face and it's like slamming against a mirror. And I think this idea of like inner turmoil for females as
Yeah.
well. I mean, again, yes. It is a young female smashing a fucking old female, the same person, all as one, into the mirror.
Into a mirror.
right?
Into a mirror, yes. Do not forget to emphasize the mirror part there.
But I also think it's really like I think there's moments that when Demi Moore she calls the organization, and it's like, you know, like this thing is fucking with me, like, and they're like, yeah, you can terminate it. You can terminate it anytime. Like, I mean, and so they send her a vial, or she goes and picks up a vial of terminate juice.
Termination juice.
Right.
Yes.
And she halfway injects it, but then's like, and then pulls it out, and she's like, "Oh my God, I can't! What am I doing? I love you so much. I love you so
Yeah.
much." This idea that we can't let go, I don't know, man. I think, like I said, I think over time, I think this will be viewed in a same sort of like Anatomy of a Fall, and like this triangle of sadness, kind of brilliance. So like, yes, they're not like the triangle of sadness where you've got a ship full of people vomiting on one another. They're not subtle necessarily, but I think that this will, and I think once you get, I mean, I think with a little bit of time and a little bit of getting past the initial body horror, I think when people look at this film, I think it's going to be seen as really, really subversive, even though it is a sledgehammer of subversiveness.
I'm going to try and get out to see it again before it goes away. Because I did enjoy the experience of seeing it, of seeing Demi Moore nude on the big screen.
Right,
That's
sure.
not what I meant. You
Right,
know what
no,
I mean,
yeah.
Right. I was going to bring up the Anatomy of a Fall thing and just go, overrated, which is what you did with Anatomy of a Fall. There's a deep cut if you haven't listened to that episode. Go back and do so. One more thing on this film. I wanted to just mention briefly that Reality Plus, her short film that is very much, in the same vein. Something I liked about that film that this film does not do is that these kind of age-altering devices were ubiquitous, right, in Reality Plus. It was advertised. It was out there. Anybody could get this sort of chip that would change your appearance. And in this, it's underground, right? It's word of mouth.
Right. And I think with the Reality Plus, the only problem I have with Reality Plus is the conceit being kind of, I don't know. I felt it a little cutesy at the end. So the reality,
Sure. No, absolutely. Yeah.
Reality Plus is essentially the same story, but people can, but it's male focused in this case. And it's people can pay for an augmented reality where they see themselves as, and everyone else sees themselves as different, but they can only do so for 12 hours. Right. So they've got to budget that time out. And then of course at the end of that, it's on Mubi. To go out there and watch it. It's good. But at the end of that, it's we realized we loved our nerdy selves all along.
Yeah, and we love each other.
Right.
Yeah.
I do like this idea. I mean, I think it's a little bit more gentler with obviously with the themes and the message, because of the whole idea of you waking up as the wrong person and you seeing. I think that was pretty interesting, and I did like it. It just it felt like an episode of Black Mirror more than it did.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
A fully fleshed out film. One thing I wanted to say before we leave is that I think if this doesn't get a fucking Oscar nom for makeup effects and special effects, this is Cronenberg level, and I think it exceeds it to a lot of extents. This body horror shit is fucking amazing. Yeah. I think what they do at the beginning when they start to split, quality coming out of the back, but also just the eyeballs, the dual eyeballs, and then the however many eyeballs are at the end monster. I think the end monster and I think the sequence at the end where it's Demi Moore's face crawling in a big section of goo. Man, I don't know. I think this is just ridiculously well done. If you just take it on the face of body horror alone, I've not seen anything like this, and I think it's really, really spectacular.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Right. Totally agree. I just, like I said, the messaging is maybe.
Well, come back to me when you've seen it a second time, and then we'll talk.
God, this guy. Wow.
I mean, just when you've watched it as many times as I have, I think
how many times I've seen this? Yeah, you wouldn't understand.
You guys, you just can't get it.
You know what? You've only seen it once, you just can't get it. But if you're like me and you've seen it twice, then clearly something's been unlocked in you.
I've seen
just
it
like the better version of myself. With
I've
the
seen
substance.
it 100% more times than you have.
All right, good deal. Let's talk about Booger.
Let's do it.
Booger! Booger! Booger!
Looks like a spirit cat. Does he see spirits?
He's not even my cat. He's my friend's. And she's dead.
Wasn't expecting that twist. Oh, come here.
I just want you to get better.
You can't make me better from Izzy dying. I lost Booger. It's all my fault.
You can't keep it all inside.
Anna.
What the hell, man?
I put Booger in the middle because I find this the least interesting. No offense.
No.
After the death of her best friend Izzy, Anna focuses all her attention on Booger, the stray cat which she and Izzy took in. When Booger bites her, she begins to undergo a strange transformation. So this was popular. This was a popular entry into this last Oak Cliff Film Festival.
Yeah.
So how'd you feel about this?
I felt the same way. I felt like it's kind. I mean, like as an examination of grief and guilt and loss, I didn't really feel like it stuck the landing. And then
I hate the end.
Yeah, it's fucking terrible.
I fucking hate the ending. You know, I don't like Pina Coladas.
Jesus Christ, I hate that song
I hate that song so much.
And it's, yeah. So, and I don't, like, this reeks of, now we talk about, like, the next gen of filmmakers with, like, you know, Schonenberg and I saw the TV Glow and this, you know, with Bottoms and this, you know, this next layer. Even, like, things like Kneecap. I just feel like this is, look, I think this should have been a 25, 30-minute short. Yep. This should have been, and this is why I always kind of come back to, like, I wish we had anthology films that were released at the theater, because I do think that this could have fit well in a female-centric anthology / horror thriller film, or just, I'm going to do a you know, 4 or 5 series of films, short films by female filmmakers to showcase what they can do. Because this idea doesn't have enough legs. Meow. Fuck, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to you. Hey, please don't take back your 5-star review. All right. I know it was out. I know we just asked for
I'm going to go write a review on this fucking podcast now.
Just half of it. Look, the Brock part's pretty fucking good.
That's exactly what I'm going to say.
But the Jason shit.
I'm going to give it 1 star and be like, this was fine until Jason made this joke.
No, but it just doesn't have enough strength to do an entire. And again, you can see it. It's a 79-minute movie, right? It's and even then, you still got 3 or 4 minutes worth of credits. So it is a quick, probably 75. Yeah. And so to that end, if you can't get 90, you shouldn't do 75. You can cut it to 60. You probably cut it to 30. In this case, we watch this girl, like, essentially, and there's no real tension here. Like, so what happens is that the girl, we very quickly see her and Izzy together. We know that and then Izzy dies, and she's on her phone, you know, texting Izzy and listening to voicemails from Izzy. And then everyone else in her life is basically trying to get her out of this funk. She gets bit by a cat and she starts to behave like the cat. The cat, you know, the cat runs away, bites her, runs away, and she starts to behave like the cat. I don't really get the metaphor. I don't really get, like, what.
Well, and the cat never really bit her.
Right.
It was a kind of imagined, like, manifestation.
Right.
Of
so
her, like, hanging on to all these things.
And so, yeah, I never really, like, it felt like this was just an exercise to, one, see what we could do with the budget, see what we could do with the gross out factor of her coughing up hairballs or chewing on her own hair. Like, I almost wanted it, like, it didn't go hard enough for this to be that cool or that good. Like, I mean, and this is going to sound a bit like, why isn't she licking her armpits, or, like, I mean, like, why isn't she really die? If her breakdown is so tied to Booger leaving, and she's really, like, lost herself. And the reason that she's lost herself is that this cat that existed between the two of her, you know, her and her roommate, and is this embodiment of her roommate still being here. And she's trying to, like, become this cat in order to, like, maybe for somehow get the relationship back. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't go hard enough. It doesn't, like, she can't, like, her, you know, eating the cat food and kind of gagging. I don't know. It was all just kind of boring. The character
should have been a lot freakier.
Right. Yeah. It should have made me much more uncomfortable than it did. And the only thing that really, like, where it made me uncomfortable was, like, the Heather Matarazzo scenes and, like, that. But I mean, like, also, I don't really know why she was in this movie. In there? Right. And, like, if then she starts to, you know, so, I mean, basically this girl, her roommate dies, and then she starts fucking up her life. She's fucking up her job. She's fucking up her boyfriend. Like, she's not paying her rent. So everything starts to fall apart. But we get so little of their relationship. Like, we get nothing of it. So there's no real reason to care about her because we don't feel that loss with her. And then we come to find out that the roommate was going to leave and move out anyway, and she's really hurt by that. But this girl has, I mean, not that
and she was going to go. She was going to leave to go to school. She was going to, like, an out-of-state grad program. So it wasn't even about her, right?
Right.
But I think this is we don't get enough of, like, either thing. right? And I feel like if it had leaned into the kind of freakiness of becoming like this cat for this reason, then who cares?
Right.
About the other part, right?
Right.
Then we just focus on like her dealing with this loss through this strange embodiment, right, of being a cat. Right? She's that girl in high school that hissed at everybody, and you're like, you're not a cat. Stop it.
Right. And that's what probably how this should have ended. She should have become a cat at the end.
Right.
I mean, she should have she should have really transformed.
Yep.
And the idea of like, even if it had been where she'd just gone bonkers and like been a human cat.
Right.
Where
But
she
but
completely
she just
lost herself.
never went bonkers enough.
And then
Right.
then it's just over. And look, I understand that's how grief works sometimes, that you can just then get over it.
Well,
but I don't think that journey's earned at this point.
No.
Right? I mean, I don't mean that in the sense of like, I mean, I just figure it fades, right? I mean, you learn to live, you learn to get on with your life.
Yeah.
The pain fades and you but yes, the whole she takes a shower, sings the Pina Colada song, which it's Pina. If I swear to God, if she kept saying Pina, and I was like, and I know that I misspeak on this podcast, but it was driving me insane. Because it was such a dumb moment.
I thought it was penis.
It's Penis Colada.
Okay.
It was so dumb and unearned, and it's like it was just so uninteresting that like I just felt like I said, if you had cut it down to 30 minutes and really leaned into what you seemingly wanted to do, because it's what you put in the trailer of this girl losing a cat, making it an embodiment of losing your roommate who's dead, and then I don't know where the thread comes, but I mean, at least I could dive into a girl who was freaking everybody out, and also seeing it like when Heather is like shitting in the box, right? In the litter box. Like, okay, like if you're starting to see everyone as cats, like is that because that's some sort of something that allows you to connect with people? That's the only way you can because you've been broken. Like we're giving this movie way more credit than it even tried to do, right?
Yeah.
It looked cool on the outset. When I saw it playing at Texas Theater, and I was like, oh, I might go see that. And then I just saw that it was streaming anyway. So I was like, well, I'll just stay home because it's far from the Texas Theater. And I'd have to convince.
And you don't want to support theaters.
That's exactly right.
Is that what you just said?
That is exactly right.
That's what I heard.
No,
you don't care if theaters die.
Well, here's the thing.
That's what I understood. You don't want to support the Texas Theater.
Like I said.
Or any other theater.
Or any other theater. What I've said in the past is that my support has limits. And do I want to convince my wife that we should go see a movie about a girl who's becoming a cat in a kind of a gross out, what seemingly is a body horror film that she won't want to go see, then convince her that I will go see that by myself, leaving her alone at that particular point in time. And again, there's certain, I mean, obviously it's not that she can't exist alone, but it's battles you fight and things you do, right? You have a certain amount of, time to yourself. And I want to use it on Booger. I'm glad I didn't. I made the right choice. And I will be supporting the Texas Theater in the future, just not watching this film. So,
yeah, I kind of feel like maybe the premise was more interesting than the actual film. But I like the idea of it being a short because then you can really just dive into that, right? Just dive into that cat metaphor and like, what is it to lose ourselves? Lose ourselves in this kind of grief. And
there's so much that repeats. I mean, like. We don't need multiple scenes to know that she's fucking up at work. We don't need multiple scenes to know that she's fucking up not paying her rent.
Right.
We don't need multiple scenes showing that she's fucking up with her boyfriend.
Right. We just need one each of those, and then
right. And if you wanted this to be really about law, like why not make them girlfriends? I never understood like why weren't they like lovers or girlfriends? Because at that point, at least you'd understand. Like you're asking us to make a pretty big leap because you introduced this character. And granted, I understand you got 75 minutes to play with, so evidently that was all the only digital film you had, right? I know digital is not film or whatever. I'm just making a point. You had 3 minutes to show me Izzy. And I know Izzy pops back up in like videos and stuff like that later on and like, as she's watching her phone.
But we don't get really an idea of the connection.
Right. We don't get any idea of the connection. And also if you want me to believe that this loss is so painful that you're becoming a cat, then make them girlfriends. Make this loss palpable because at this point, we see that she's a shitty person because she's fucking up at her work. She's not paying her rent, and she's just being a dick to her boyfriend. I'd understand all of those things, not the boyfriend part, but I'd understand all of those things if they were a couple.
Right.
If it's just two people that live together and they like each other a lot and they had a cat together, the fact that someone died or someone moved away, I'm just like, I know it would still be painful, but it wouldn't be turned into a cat painful.
Man, I thought I was cynical.
Look, people. Look, if you're out there turning into a cat, it better be because a person that you were in a relationship with, beyond just splitting the bills, passes away. I'm just saying that right now. That's my level. I will accept you turning into a cat.
Also, is every horror movie just going to be about grief now?
I guess so. Yeah.
It's like every horror movie is about grief. Oh, well, this is clearly a treatise on grief, loss, and despair.
So Starvaker and Booger are the same.
No, I know, like kind of. Except Starvaker had a bunny.
True.
A cute little bunny.
I did think this movie also having Booger like lick his ass on screen at the end. I was just like, that just seems like you're saying fuck you to all of us who sat through this movie.
Right, like, haha, gotcha.
Because, oh my God. Yeah, at this point, there's a level of credulity. Yes, thank you. I'm the tongue tied today and all days that I do on this podcast. There's a level of credulity that I will allow. And then, but at a certain point, like she goes to the Humane Society and ends up like letting Booger go. Like she ends up in the cage though. I mean, it's just, I don't know.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
And I will say this, like, not that anyone ever is going to listen, but man, this was poorly acted. Like from A to Z. This was just like
you said Z.
This was.
We are a European podcast.
That's what I'm trying to get. I'm trying to get out into that market.
Yeah, we're trying to reach out to our European brethren.
Yeah,
and whatever the female equivalent of brethren is.
Booger was disappointing.
Yeah, not.
And the good news about it was it was only 75 minutes long, so good on it.
I forgot about it pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know why I suggested talking about this.
Even while I
was like, we'll see what we say.
Even while I was watching it, I'm like, yeah, all right. Well, this is a film that I'm already forgetting what happened at the beginning of this movie.
It's got actors and it's got a cat.
And it's funny because like no one will ever talk about this on any other podcast, and no one's going to seek out after you listen to this for sure. Like this is going to disappear. Like unless this person goes on and does something else.
Well, this is her first film,
sure.
And so maybe maybe this is kind of like almost like I'm trying to showcase potential here. I mean, because it feels very first filmy, and like we said, I mean, it feels like a short that like you just really had to get to feature length, and
yeah, it makes me wonder like how it got picked up for Oak Cliff. Like this doesn't feel like an Oak Cliff and it just doesn't feel like an Oak Cliff selection, to be honest.
No, I know.
This feels like
you read the tagline and you're like, oh, okay, I can see why, but after watching it, no.
Right.
No. And I'm surprised it was then playing too.
Right.
Like
and I think
in limited run.
Right. Yeah, I think it had like one screening, so it was just more of a we have it, we might as well just throw it up for one night or whatever. We'll cough it up one night.
Yeah, you mean like a hairball?
Like a hairball,
because she became a cat.
And that's the gross. I mean, like the gross out factor. She just coughs up hairballs now and then.
I really wanted to see her like transform into a cat or something. And just I don't know.
Right. I mean, and that's the other thing is if you want to like display how painful loss is, then display how painful. I mean, like make it grotesque.
Right.
Have a boob fall out of your eye.
Right. Or have a cat fall out of your eye.
Right. On the poster, it shows the cat coming out of her mouth.
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Right? Like clawing its way out of her.
Right.
Mouth.
Yeah. So,
I mean, it's a different version of the substance. You know, there's a better cat version of yourself like, locked inside. Okay. Anything else you need to say about Booger? There was nothing.
I think we've talked about it for 75 minutes, which is longer than the
Yeah. All right, then let's talk about Strange Darling.
Do you have any idea the kind of risks a woman like me takes every time she agrees to have a little fun?
Never thought about it that way.
Of course you haven't. You're not a woman.
Love hurts.
You seem like a nice guy.
Love scars.
But the real issue is safety.
Love wounds.
Does life are tough.
And more.
So I'm gonna have to ask you a question. Are you a serial killer?
What did you just say? Here, kitty, kitty, kitty.
Can you help me, please?
Here, kitty, kitty, kitty. Here, kitty, kitty, kitty. I'm in control.
No. Maybe I lied.
You know you asked for this, right?
Some fools fool
How did I get so lucky tonight?
I know it isn't true. No, it isn't true.
Gotcha.
Nothing is what it seems when a twisted one-night stand spirals into a serial killer's vicious murder spree. Jason, did you know this was shot entirely on 35mm film?
Not just partially.
Entirely.
They didn't shoot like the first opening sequence.
Entirely. Not just like one scene or one chapter.
All right,
entirely.
Before we get into it, let's talk about that. Just because, like, one, we've already previously discussed how I hate theaters and I don't support them.
This is true. You don't support film either.
As much as I love, analog, pseudo-analog technologies, this doesn't, and I appreciate people utilizing, like, here's the thing. I would never question when Nolan films in 70mm or Spielberg films in 35 or Quentin Tarantino films in 70. Like because I think that those filmmakers understand like what they're trying to accomplish here.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything. And here's the thing. Just a level set. I like Strange Darling. I don't think that there's anything in this film that necessitated it being filmed on 35 other than being an exercise to film on 35.
And in that case, great. But I don't know why you need to tell us. So I worked in the photography industry for a long time, in various kind of degrees, but one part was sort of in high-end retail. And so I was there before the digital advent, right? And then during. So I was still selling film to professional photographers. I was still recommending specific types of film to people, right? I was, shipping out bulk orders of film to guys across the country. And then digital came in, and it's not film, right? That's okay. But then it got to a point where it's like, okay, well, there's a convenient factor. I'm still going to shoot film for certain things or do other things. But now it's kind of like, hey, do you know I shoot film? It's become like this like hipster badge. And like, one, like, don't try to out hipster me, especially with
can't be done.
Film, right? And I still will shoot film, right? But I don't tell everybody.
The
right?
Ivan Drago of hipsterness here.
Hey, do you know that I still shoot film? You know what? I'll bring in some photographs, and you can really tell the difference. Do you know how? You know what grain is, man? Do you know what grain is?
Listener, this is Brock telling you he shoots on film without telling you he shoots on film. I'm not going to tell you I shoot on film,
but I shoot on film, right?
But I still shoot on film.
No, right. But so like but I'm with you. Like I don't understand why. Like there was no like real need here, and there was no need to announce it.
Right. That's the thing is that you're not you're not making a point to anybody who's going to see this movie. That right. this is there's no retro feel to this. It's not even like a Ty West X, right. Or in this type of film where you would have it feel like it had the saturation or, the not graininess, because of course you're not going to do that, but of like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre or something like that along those these genre classics that exist on celluloid that kind of pop and you can almost like smell it. It's just right. I mean, like there's a reason for it. I just feel like this feels like an exercise from a young filmmaker that says, this feels like someone who's like, hey, guess what I did?
Right.
I mean, at that point, shoot it on 16mm, motherfucker.
Right.
Like show me something really cool.
I mean, it's kind of like the film Too Late, right? Which was shot on film, and it was. I mean, each scene was how long, right? Whatever the length of a reel of film was, right? And so I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Like I can get behind this kind of exercise because it's also forcing your hand in a way of storytelling. Okay, I get that, but this one I'm just like, I don't like. Okay, cool.
Right. Yeah. There's a weird and to that end too. So we're inundated with, which is odd because this film doesn't really need. Like it doesn't need all of these extra caveats to its film, right? I mean, like so.
There's a lot of gimmicks.
Well, yes, but granted, there's a lot of gimmicks on screen. You don't need the gimmicks then off screen. Like this is the first film that's DP'd by Giovanni Ribisi, which I would imagine your average filmmaker or your average film goer doesn't really give a shit about the DP. Right. I mean, they probably should. I mean, but
they do about that one guy.
Yes, Deakins. Right.
Everybody loves.
Everybody loves that fucking guy.
Yeah, they've got a favorite Deakins film.
And look, I know that there's going to be deep cut film nerds that hang their hat on. Oh man, I fucking love his work. I love this, that, and the other. I know when Altman moved from the DP that he started out with, from the DP to his future DP, whatever, all that kind of shit.
But like these are also kind of auteurs that we're talking about and who are working in close conjunction with some of these guys. So
I'm all for Giovanni taking his stab at being a DP, but there's nothing in this movie that really reeks of like great shots or anything that's out of the ordinary. I was never really awed by anything that I saw here in regards. I mean, there were cool shots in this film occasionally, but nothing that ever spoke to me beyond like what I'd see in any given 70s actioner. Like, I mean, like, there's no like, there's nothing that would require you to know who the DP in this. You would never come out of this movie if you weren't told that it was Giovanni Ribisi doing his first film. They're going, oh, I wonder who shot that because that was an amazingly shot film. Like, it just, I don't know. It's weird. And a lot of the shots are even kind of weirdly for a film that's like so like kind of tied to its gore are really kind of oddly placed. So like when they shoot the cop at the end, which I know we've seen a lot of films of his recently. Steven, I can't remember his last name, starts with a Q. He was in Breaking Bad and this is a Hispanic guy.
Yeah.
But so when she says at the end, spoiler alert, that she doesn't always see humans, she sometimes sees devils. We pull out and we hear a shot, but we don't even get a good blood spatter on the windshield.
We see it from afar. Yeah.
Right, we see it so far up, but it's also a truck
looks like a shadow.
Right, the truck is not positioned. Like that would have been a cooler shot if you had blurred the truck from the front and then showed the blood coming to the the windshield. Anyway, let's get into what Strange Darling is about. A tale told in 6 chapters.
Wait, okay.
Mixy-matchy chapters.
Can I also, I'm a sucker for nonlinear storytelling. Why is this told out of order?
Well, of course, you know why it's told out of order because it's supposed to be it's supposed to set you up with.
It's not that big of a twist.
No, of course not. I think I think the twist. I think, and maybe I think the way that it's broken up is that it's look. I think you understand that because again, it gets you to the twist by minute 30, right? So you're not waiting around for the twist. So I think. The reason the chapters are broken up in the way that they are is to show you how storytelling kind of can fuck with you, can make you think one thing or make you leave. Because even after you learn the twist, which is the girl is the killer in the entire time, you still are wondering how pieces kind of fall into place.
Okay.
So I think that's the idea is that it's not so much about the twist. It's about how our expectations of how films go and how stories are told, how we can mess with those if we kind of pull things in and out of each other.
Okay.
You're looking like you don't quite believe me, but you're willing to listen. Which I mean, hey, that's all we can do.
I mean, I think that is a kind of metatextual take on that I don't know is necessarily there, or if we're giving the filmmaker too much credit.
Maybe
to that end, because I mean, yes, I understand that, right? I mean, I do. I understand how editing and chopping up a story and like trying to mess with tone and mess with information delivery and how this can build suspense, how it can build tension, how it can hide and recontextualize things that we think are going to happen and then happen later or happen at a different time than we are used to having them happen. But I think at the end of it, this is a pretty straightforward narrative.
Sure.
And that's so. I guess that's my
yeah. I think that's the problem with this movie. That I think it gives up too much way too early. And again, I think with a two-hander like this, there's not really much. I mean, but I do think, like, and I know. Look, this analogy is almost too on the nose. But if you take something like Memento, which is done by a fucking master. Granted, I mean, it is, and also done by a screenwriter who is, I mean, one of the best, right? So, like, but you, in each backward sequence, you learn more and more and more. You do that here very early on, but then by the time you realize that the girl is the killer, everything's kind of, like, the only thing that's really left to then worry about is, how's this going to end, right?
Well, is she going to get caught?
Is she going to get caught? Right. Yeah. Is our hero going to survive? I also think that it does itself a little bit of a disservice, and we don't really know this, but if you're looking at the IMDb description or you see the credit, like naming him the demon and naming her the lady,
right?
I think is really kind of silly. Like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense in the grand scheme of what this thing is trying to do.
Yeah.
I think the 6 chapters piece reeks a little bit of Tarantino, and I do think that, like, had it had been more of a Memento type movie where we just bounced around all over the place, we don't have to go straight backwards, we don't have to go straight forwards, but if we bounced around all over the place, where we saw, where this thing kept you guessing, like where when she's in the freezer and the cops are coming and she's killed the demon, right? And if you would have just seen the sequence where the cops come in and they see her and her pants are pulled down, then maybe you're not like seeing how she's manipulative. But once you figure out, okay, she's given him the ketamine and he shoots her and then she runs and gets the car and is trying to basically escape from him and he's chasing her to kill her, then I kind of lost my thread. But once you get to that point, again, it is straightforward, and you don't really. I mean, like the only thing then is the hope that Ed Begley sticks around long enough to be fun, like that. And I really want to eat breakfast with those guys because that breakfast looked kicked ass.
Okay, to a certain point, they put like canned jelly.
They put blueberry pie topping on it.
Oh, that's what that was.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
and
then a pancake,
whipped cream.
They were just old potheads, man.
I know. No, I love it. Well, he was more of a biker.
And they were afraid of the Squatch.
Of the Squatch. Okay, do you want to get to the plot here?
Yeah.
All right.
No, it's my
You're
job.
the plot guy. You're always the plot guy.
So we start off the movie and I
interrupt you as you're doing the plot.
We see that, right, because I miss things and I forget things. We start the movie when we see this woman in red scrubs running through this field, essentially. She's being chased by a man in a truck. Well, she's being chased by a man. We then get to a cut to a scene where she's in a car and he's chasing her in his truck. He shoots out the back window. And then we cut to a scene where they are earlier on, they're on a date together. So basically they're talking in a truck to one another and they're talking about how the lady's like, you know how much risk I'm taking, wanting to hook up and do casual sex with a dude. And I know it's not how you say it in the lexicon of today's like dating world. I don't think you say,
I'd like to do casual sex with you.
Hey there, Mr. Man. Would you like to do casual sex with me? This is how dating works, right? This is what Tinder's all about.
You sure are handsome.
I like the cut of your jib. Let's have some casual sex.
Casual. Just for funsies.
Right. As opposed to formal sex, let's just have casual Friday sex. Khakis.
Here's my form of consent. Can I have your form of consent, please? Khakis. It's
casual Friday sex. Yeah.
Polos and khakis.
Right. You can wear a Hawaiian shirt if you have one, if you want to. So they are talking in a truck after they've supposedly met at a bar, and they're kind of negotiating the next step into a hotel room. It turns out then when we get to the woman likes rough play, And so there's a moment of like where we see him choking her, but when we find out later that she's invited him to choke her, and that it's all been part of this play, this role playing where he's a rapist or he's a murderer or whatever, and he's got her chained to the bed, but they have a safe word, and he's actually a good guy. And then we cut to where she's taken advantage of him. She's basically going to rob him. We find out she's a serial killer. Mm-hmm. We start off at the beginning of this movie with the scroll saying blah blah blah. It's very Texas Chainsaw Massacre of like, this has been one of the most notorious serial killers, and this is a telling of the last murders. I did like this movie when I saw it. I don't know why I'm like shitting on it so much, but like, well, and I will say, and I'll get to that in a minute because I don't think it holds up on multiple viewings, like obviously like The Substance does, which I've seen twice. I don't know if you know that or not.
Have you seen it twice?
I've seen it twice.
That's like 100% more times than I have.
So we find out that she's starting to roll him. She like gives him ketamine and starts to carve EL. That's her signature.
The electric lady
in his chest. She goes into the bathroom and finds out she's like thumbing through. She's dumping his cell phone. She's thumbing through his wallet. She finds out he's a cop. She goes back out. She's about to stab him in the throat. He shoots her in the ear. She runs away. So we get back to that scene. Mm-hmm. They get to these hippies in the forest. We might have met them earlier on in the movie. It's hard to say exactly. But she bangs on the door and says, "Hey, let me in." And then she proceeds to kill Ed Begley Jr. and tries to kill, who's the other actress?
Barbara Hershey.
Barbara Hershey, yes, thank you. And she runs away. She's able to get away. And they're these conspiracy theorists, old people that live out by themselves and they have this like kind of pseudo broadcast that they do, or they radio show I guess they listen to. Anyway.
Talking about the Squatch.
Bagley Jr. is really a lot of fun. I think Kid Cudi came and invited him to a
Absolutely.
show. Right.
Absolutely.
And so she kills Ed Begley Jr. And because they're trying to help her. She gets to inside the door and they're trying to help her, and they're thinking that the Squatch tried to get her, and they give her some Percocet, and while Barbara Hershey's going to get the Percocet, she kills Ed Begley Jr. And then Barbara Hershey runs away. And so knowing that Kyle Gallner, who's the demon, is coming to get her, who I think is great in this, by the way.
Look, he's come a long way from Beaver Casablancas.
I know, right? Yeah.
From Victoria Mars.
So she gets into this, she unplugs his freezer, gets in. He's like going, this is the one sequence that really kind of, the kitty chapter really kind of fucking pissed me off. Like that was the silly, because so he goes from like.
And why does he keep saying it?
Right. He goes, because so he goes from like thing that she could hide in to thing that she can hide in. And they're mostly chests of some sort.
These people have a lot of chests.
They do have a lot of chests. And he's looking for her and he's shooting and he's saying, "Here, kitty," over and over and over again. And then he finds her in the freezer, obviously another chest, and he handcuffs her to the chest, to the freezer, and then handcuffs himself to her, and he's going to call the cops.
No, he doesn't.
Oh, that's right. But she's handcuffed him at some point, right? Okay.
So
I guess she just had to pull him away.
She sprays him with the bear spray,
right?
And then and then he stumbles into her.
Okay.
And then she bites his jugular,
right, and dies.
And then she has to like pull him closer to her, because she's trying to get the key or whatever. And then the other cops come in, but
right, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That's the scene I was mistaking. It's that yes, she was trying to get the key to undo herself from the chest, and then the cops come in, and they're like, and Kyle Gallner, the demon, has been doing coke the entire time to kind of wake himself up out of this
from the ketamine
high. So like, there's questionable if the cops come. It looks like Kyle has, and he's on the outs or something. He's had problems with his job, or like
there was an interesting moment there where when she says, "Oh, are you going to tell your sponsor or something?"
Right.
And his eyes kind of there's a telling kind of
right.
I think note there in his eyes, and so there's something going on, right? And he's married,
right?
So yeah.
So the demon has called the cops and said, "Hey, I'm kind of in trouble. I've got this girl. I've like chained her, and like I've got EL basically chained." He didn't say that, but he's got this girl that chained. And we need you guys to get out. So the cops come. The lady feigns that she was raped by the cop, and one of the cops that comes knows the guy, but he's also paired with this like rookie female cop, and she's like, "Protocol is we got to get her. We'll take her to the hospital." And he's like, "Protocol is whatever the fuck I say it is." And then they take her, of course. And Barbara Hershey comes up to the truck. The lady shoots her in the head, and then the cops know that she's bad. She shoots the lady cop.
No, the lady cop lets the lady cop go.
Right, lady cop goes, and then she shoots the Stephen Quezada. I'm not sure I'm not saying his name right, but that's
better than I can say it.
And then she stumbles out of a car. She meets up with this indigenous woman, and she's all dazed and she pulls out her gun to point it at the indigenous woman who's trying to help her, and the indigenous woman shoots her and then calls it in, and that's the epilogue.
Okay, so then I have a question about that, because a few minutes earlier, right in the scene where she's in the truck with Quezada, she says, sometimes I don't see people, I see devils.
Devils, right.
And earlier we had seen a superimposed kind of devil face on Kyle Gallner.
Mm-hmm.
We don't see it with the cop, right?
No,
but
she
we see her face fall,
right, yeah.
right, and then she shoots him. But then when she's in the car with the indigenous woman, she looks in the mirror and sees the same thing on her face,
right?
And her face, she starts to kind of cry. I wondered if she wasn't going to then kill herself.
She might have, right?
And then, but
she
wasn't
gotten the chance, right?
Yeah, I was just curious
because
she saw, oh my God, I'm a devil.
Because of gun culture here in America, and
everyone's got a gun. Yeah.
Everyone's got a gun.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
In fact, the guy staying in the room next to him, she's like, he's got a gun. He's like, so do I.
So do I.
Yeah. So, all right. It's very Hell or High Water-esque, right? It's which Stephen Quezada. No, that wasn't Stephen Quezada. That was somebody else.
Yeah. That was.
So yeah, I mean, look, this movie exists as a one-time. Oh, that was kind of cool.
I thought it was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Right. I think Willa Fitzgerald is good. I think Kyle Gallner is good. But yeah, I don't think that. Yeah.
Once you know the thread, there's nothing more to figure out here. There's nothing more to unpack.
Right.
And whereas something like Memento or even something like Pulp Fiction, which I know I'm giving examples of giants, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's reasons to go back to those movies for things that you missed. In this case, it's not clever enough it's an enjoyable time. It is not clever enough to sit there and revisit over and over and over again. So yeah, I mean, but I will say I am baffled by one, I guess a couple of things. I'm baffled by the marketing of this film and the release of this film, because the marketing of this film, these films, especially these independent films that lean into this idea that I'm going to take a critic's, some fucking web critics, this is the next masterpiece, or this is the next, brilliant filmmaking. Why do that to yourself?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why can't you have just a straightforward thriller?
Right.
And then you knew you had a movie that people were at least going to initially like. Why do you roll this out and hide it? Why is this not
But it was out for a long time.
But you could never really see it, though, right?
I know, but no, right.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, too.
Right.
They released it, and then it doesn't hit streaming anytime soon.
No,
it just now hit streaming.
Right.
So I don't really understand the thought process behind the release of this, because it makes $3 million, which you had to figure that's what it costs to make, if not more.
Film is expensive.
It is. You can't tell me this couldn't have made $20-25 million if you would have just tried.
Yeah.
Especially when this came out, there would have been holes. If you would have just, and here's the thing, I'm not even saying advertise it on television or YouTube. Put it in front of fucking whatever else you're playing at the theater. Put it in front of your.
Lost money.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Budget was $4 million. Box office was 3.5.
So why don't you have AMC run? AMC runs 30 fucking minutes of shit before every fucking movie. You can't tell me that they can't play a Strange Darling trailer before whatever the fuck else was out at the time.
Well, and it's playing it all the AMCs at weird times and not very often, all day. But yeah, really?
It's bonkers to me that there's not some sort of marketing push for this, especially just call it the next.
Do we even care anymore? I mean, do people even care about marketing for movies if it's not fucking Marvel or
just Transformers 1 or
right?
or,
if it's not IP. I mean, do we even care?
I guess not.
I don't.
I mean, I'm trying to think. I'm just trying to think of the things. You've got the only reason that people even know about Megalopolis is that it's because it's such a fucking train wreck of a thing. It's a Cats level train wreck of a thing.
Right.
And I mean, look, there's going to be people who love that movie. They're wrong, but there's going to be people that love that movie, but just because they're,
and it's Coppola,
right?
And
it's Coppola,
and
right?
It's going to be either brilliant or terrible, right?
But I mean, like, what else is coming out? I really can't tell you. Like, I know Joker, but that's because that movie made $1 billion fucking dollars when they're in its first installation. This one will come out. It'll be out for 4 weeks. It'll be out of the theaters and it will be forgotten.
Yeah.
And we'll never speak of it ever fucking again. But at least it'll have some sort of big push release. There's not even really a big like horror release that's coming out. That's like
Terrifier.
I mean, but even then,
and what I mean is like attention wise, right?
Right.
Yeah. Or cult kind of wise. That's
Right. And I mean, I wonder like what they're going to, I mean, but that's the thing with Terrifier is like, one, it doesn't, I mean, it'll make its money eventually anyway. Like there's no.
Right.
And like that's already got a built-in audience.
Yeah.
Like for a film like this, if you got to put it like, and the same thing with like Oddity. How do you put it in front? Have you put a fucking trailer for this in front of Longlegs that you knew people were going to go to? Like, why does this not have Longlegs marketing?
Right.
Look, and I get it's not the same thing, but in a lot of senses, maybe it is. Like it's this whole idea of like, it's this weird I enjoyed this way more than I enjoyed Longlegs.
100%.
So I mean, like
100%.
Like why not lean in? Like why not lean into the programming when you've got people in the theater? Why not lean in to say, oh, if you like this is what you're gonna like.
Yeah.
I mean, is that what not trailers are for?
Well, yeah. I mean, again, you would think, but it really feels like they just don't care. It really feels like, who fucking cares? Like, we'll just throw it away. It'll like end up somewhere and it'll be fine.
But if
right? I mean, like, are they just doing this for like tax write-offs and shit a lot of times?
Maybe they had extra 35mm film they needed to spend.
This is true.
Like Giovanni Ribisi had just a bunch in a canister in his garage. It's like, what am I going to do with this? Like, well, I can't direct, but maybe I can be a DP for JT over here.
Yeah.
It's like, especially when you take a look at like AMC just as a business model. I know all of them kind of have the same thing.
Yeah.
But with an AMC pass, right? $19, $24, whatever it is, wherever you live, it's a little bit the different price. You got $25 a month, let's just say, is on average. All you care about is people coming back into the theater.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not going to come back and see Transformers 1 multiple times.
I know.
They're not going to, I mean, they may come back to see Longlegs multiple times, maybe. But give them something else to see. And here's the fucking thing. Tell them about it. Like, you can't just fucking put it out on your app. You have to be able to, I mean, like, if that's it, make the app push notifications to say, hey, I saw you see Longlegs.
Yeah.
Fucking if Netflix can do this, why are we not hired as the fucking AMC CEO? Why aren't they calling us right now?
Look, we've got ideas.
You saw Longlegs.
I think that's the problem.
Right. They don't want to know. You saw Longlegs. Why don't you go see Strange Darling? In fact, hey, here's every time it's showing. And hey, guess what? I'll give you $2 off of fucking popcorn if you just come, because I make $800 million off popcorn.
Yeah, because it's overpriced anymore.
Right. I'll give you a large for the price of a medium, which is already what I do. Right?
I'm still making,
I'll throw in some Sour Patch Kids with a box that's way bigger than what you get on the inside of Sour Patch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so, hey, come in and see this. It's such fucking, it's no cost.
I know.
So easy. And like, why aren't you fucking doing it? Why are you hiding this movie? I talk to people who are cinephiles who don't know this fucking thing exists. It's fucking crazy to me. And like, why do I care?
No, because you don't support theaters and you don't want to go back.
I fucking hate theaters, and I
there's
hate
because we don't want to just end up sitting at home watching movies forever.
Well,
right?
And we keep talking about, look, this movie's not great. It is fun. It's good. It's okay. Like I said, you won't go back to it over and over again. You're not going to put it on your DVD shelf. Maybe if you want to show it to somebody new because it's a thing that no one's seen, right? Maybe you hold it. But like, I still, I don't know. I fucking, it's whatever, man. It's just, I like, well, no, here's my point. Here's why I actually come back to it. Is that we decry all of the IP shit, right? We decry, there's nothing good. We're only sequels, blah, 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 fuck. There's no reason to go to the theater anymore because it's all geriatric fucking horseshit that we've all seen before, right?
Right. It's Marvel or Zach Braff.
This is at least something different.
Right.
And again, is it the best movie you've ever seen? Is it going to win awards? Are you going to walk away from it thinking, Jesus Christ, I can't believe I slept on this for so long? No, but it is as equally as entertaining as the next order of Rescue 911 or NCIS or to get your fat ass off the couch and go out and see a fucking movie and buy an overpriced Coke. Like, why, AMC? Why aren't you doing this?
Do you think it's because, and I know I always come back to this, right? This is my little bugbear. Do you think it's because of the price? So when
to do what? You have it in your theater, though.
No. As viewers.
Oh.
Right? Like you just said, right? I mean, are we not going to the theaters? Now I'm kind of shifting things. Are we not going to the theaters because I'm like, when we were growing up, it's just like, what's playing? Who cares? Let's just go see something, right? It's a little more difficult to do that now.
It is.
And so like I'm with you because but yeah, I mean, so is that their thinking, right? Well, people are only going to come out for like these event movies, or we've just completely priced ourselves out of this, right? So what I mean is they're just dumbasses.
It has to be.
Yeah.
I mean, because from a other perspective of like, I mean, again, like pay someone to look at someone's data on their phone and say, hey, if you've downloaded the AMC app, I can go and look and see what you're browsing. Fucking steal that data and say, hey, you'd like this film. I mean, you take the fucking email address that they signed up with the app with and email them to say, hey, here's some things. Fucking categorize it. Categorize the email to say, hey, are you tired of the same old shit?
Yeah.
Are you tired of seeing Transformers and Marvel and everything else? Hey, we love those movies, but I understand some people are out there are just fucking sick of it. They can't stand it. Here's this shit. I don't even give a fuck. Do it for fucking Reagan and all the Christploitation horse shit. Like, I mean, like, here's the thing. Just from a capitalistic perspective of keeping these theaters
open,
afloat.
right? We can send emails. Hey, are you racist?
Right. Do you hate all that perversion and fucking eating babies in Hollywood? Well, here's some good Christian movies you might like.
Starring Zach Levy.
Oh, Jesus Christ, that fucking guy. Like, here's the thing. You're not done just yet, man. They haven't stopped giving you roles. Like fucking, I understand Sorbo leaning in. I understand fucking Cameron leaning in.
But you were just Harold, right?
Right. You had
your purple crayon.
Right. And I mean, look, there's not going to be any Shazam, but there's certainly not going to be any Shazam movies made with you anymore. Just like, why are you fucking like? And look, I mean, if here's the thing on either side. If you're making your decisions, and I think everyone kind of is, I think as a whole of America, one thing we can agree upon is that if you're making your decisions based on what a celebrity tells you to make your decisions on anything, you're a fucking mo.
An idiot,
right? You deserve to get the government that you get because of that, right? So I don't give a shit if Taylor endorses Kamala. I don't care if fucking Levi endorses Trump. I don't fucking care because I already know who I'm going to vote for, and I'm not looking. And I'm not looking to them.
Yeah.
Right?
They're not my pole stars, right? They're not my my guiding lights.
But I do think, like, I do think it's obviously safer to align yourself with liberal ideas in Hollywood. I think that's a given. But I mean, for Levi's perspective, do you feel so fucking strongly that this is the way to go? Or are you just seeing that this is an untapped market that you can exploit?
Right.
Because I mean, like, if you're just a huckster like Alex Jones, or like, I mean, someone who thinks that everyone is fucking stupid and that you can play these people for fools, I mean, I don't think Zach Levi, I don't see it in the eyes that he's that smart to pull this off.
No. Fuck that dude.
Fuck Zach Levi.
Never watching Chuck again.
Seriously.
I'm telling you that. Okay. Is there anything else we need to get to before we get out of here?
It's totally ruined the Harold and Purple Crayon franchise for me.
I know. How are you going to go back? I thought you were really looking forward to like Purple Crayon Part 2.
We're going to lean into Lil Rel's character, which is what we should do in every sequel, essentially. Just make Lil Rel the headliner. I mean, like, seek out Strange Darling, leave Booger alone,
and go see The Substance,
and go see The Substance, because I think
at least twice.
Do you think Substance is going to get, like, do you think Demi's got an outside shot at?
I think so.
An Oscar.
I thought they were both really good.
Yeah. I don't think quality. I mean, like, maybe. I don't know.
But I think this is a much more interesting role for quality that I've seen her in.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I think it asks a lot more of her, and I think her physicality is really great too. I know she's got a dance background and everything, but like her physicality is really great. I think Demi Moore is excellent. I mean, I think that she really, when she starts to age, what I mean is when she starts to like really break down, she just goes for it, right? I mean,
Right.
it's over the top, but I think it's called for. Right?
Yeah, it's cliche to call it like a brave role or whatever, but I mean it is.
Right. But I think the brave part of that role is there's a moment where she is going to go on a date with like an old high school like colleague, and she's so self-conscious that she keeps going back to the mirror, back to the mirror, back to the mirror,
And
more
basically, like,
makeup, different like changes clothes, and like then just doesn't go.
Right.
And that to me was like one of the best moments in the film. I thought that really hit at all the stuff that she was trying to say in this film. So
do you think Andrew McCarthy called Demi and said, "Hey, I could have done that Dennis Quaid role"? I mean, I thought I thought we were past this Brat Pack shit.
I think he's gonna be like,
because
I read for that role
because it would have been a perfect St. Elmo's Fire pseudo reunion with Andy McDowell's daughter in the other role, right?
Yes. I heard somebody talking about, well, they missed a trick with not casting Andy McDowell in that role. And I was like, I get that.
Bad.
I get that.
That's not bad.
But I think Demi Moore.
I think Demi Moore is the right. I think Demi Moore is the right call for this.
Actually, I do too. No, I hope Demi Moore gets some recognition for this because I think she's really good, and I think she's probably been underrated for a long time.
Yeah, I think so too. I think she's been unfairly maligned, but I also think she made a lot of back-to-back bad choices. But also, it's hard not to make those choices when they were lining up $20 million trucks for you to make those choices.
Right.
I don't hate G.I. Jane. I hate Striptease.
Yes.
Striptease is fucking terrible.
Yes.
But G.I. Jane is a silly movie, but it's not the worst.
No,
it's fine.
No, and I think we've seen male counterparts to that film, right?
Yeah.
That people, yeah. So,
but going to Quali, I mean, I think she was really good in Kinds of Kindness, but I mean, I think she's better in this, and
she has more to do in this too.
Right, and she's much better than this than she is in something like Drive Away Dolls, which gives her nothing to do, right?
And just ask her to do like this. Be Holly Hunter, right?
right.
But I'm not Southern. I don't care. Be Holly Hunter.
Yeah, I'm looking.
That's what she was. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing. I mean, I'm looking forward to watching her career. Because I mean, obviously, aside from being a nepo baby, I think she is really talented, and I think she's got. I mean, and she's shown herself to take on interesting work. Now, granted, she can because she's a nepo baby, but I mean, I think taking on this interesting work and working with interesting people lends its even the Coens, right? I mean, and that didn't turn out for the best, but there's been much worse output, and there's worse chances to take than working with a Coen brother to make a movie, right? So I don't blame her necessarily. But yeah, it's not the. But I'm looking forward to seeing what she does next.
Yeah, me too.
I'm actually looking forward to. What's the director's name? I always get it.
Carolyn Farge.
Farge.
Farge. I cannot. My French is fucking terrible.
So. So this is an interesting thing for her, because now she's got revenge is one thing. Revenge is this kind of tepid rape revenge story that kind of hinges its popularity on the gore, right? Mm-hmm. And her character turns into a Laura Croft-esque, bra and short shorts character at the end,
kicking ass,
right? And I think there's a kind of a visceral fun to that movie, but it's not anywhere near as viscerally fun as it needs to be for a rape revenge fight. Right. And I know that's weird to say. I don't mean it where we're supposed but there's been other rape revenge stories where we, as an audience, get to, I don't know, partake, but you get to kind of revel in the comeuppance, right? Because you see these gross, grotesque men, and they get their balls shot off, and their head
blink twice,
right? Their heads microwaved, and and there's that's
How
why
do they close the door.
Yeah, and I'm not look. It's not the logic is not sound.
Okay,
but that movie added nothing to the rape revenge, and it was and it was such a paint by numbers aside from the gore that it just didn't really lend itself to being memorable. This movie has two things kind of going against your next film, which you've got the body horror piece of it. So now you kind of establish yourself really truly as a master of gore. But then also you've got this, and even you've kind of just expanded on revenge in the sense where you've got this this female centric story. and so does she do a message film? Does she do a gore film? Is it something like Infinity Pool or like? I mean, I think the world, but it's gonna. All eyes are gonna be on her to see. I think what the next thing is, and like it's gonna be interesting to see how it's marketed as the director, the writer and director and creator of the substance, right? Yeah. As this next thing that comes out, but
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too,
I mean,
for
think
sure.
I mean, she's definitely one to watch, and only having the two features under her belt. I mean, I think the substance is a huge leap from Revenge.
Oh,
so
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, then
and you know what? You will when you see it the second time. You're absolutely going to think it's even.
I would
bigger
think
leap.
an even bigger jump. So, no pressure, Coralie. No pressure.
It's like I fumbled the ball in my third film because those Wilhelm boys put so much stake in it.
I'm like, how do I live up to like the Wilhelm boys' anticipation? You can't.
Wah, wah.
Too bad. You tried.
2 stars.
Maybe 2.5. Just like this podcast. All right. Anything else as we're closing out?
No. Go watch movies. Go watch movies at the theater. You know what? If you're an AMC A-lister, go look at your app and then scroll down a bit. There's going to be something down there that you're going to want to see. It's going to be probably 20 miles away from you, but go fucking see it because you already pay that money. You already pay that money.
Ask yourself if you are racist.
Ask yourself if you're racist. Did you see that fucking thing?
No, I didn't see that. Why would I go see that movie?
I don't know. It's such a weird like. No, I know. I mean, like, but like, I guarantee you, it suckered people into going to see it. Like,
sure.
Oh, is this an honest conversation about racism that we're seeing here?
No, it's not.
Oh, it reinforces all of my racist ideals and allows me to fall back on the safety of being a white.
Yes, that's what it does.
This is what we've become. Fucking A, man. Like it's gonna, like it had to happen eventually. It's weird that like that level of I don't know. Like I know that the conservatives see liberal media as this kind of tongue wagging, like, finger wagging, like existence.
Sure.
I don't know. It's just so disingenuous. Like, I mean, I understand.
Of course it is.
This idea of like, oh, they're gonna make Dear White People, then I got to go out and make. Yeah, you didn't see it. You missed the fucking point. Like, even if you did see it, like, just stop. Like, but we don't need this. Like, fucking. We understand you're a piece of shit that you don't want to that you don't want to see things from other people's perspectives, right? You want to misconstrue and come at and have bad faith. And look, listener, if you're conservative, I get it. There's bad actors on the liberal side as well. I'm not here to say that there's good people on both sides. I'm saying there's bad people on both sides. And not
that is the different.
Not every liberal comes at every argument in good faith. I understand that, but these types of don't go see these types of movies. Don't. Like if at the very fucking least, just open your ears and listen. Stop. It just drives me insane. Yeah. It's just so like.
I mean, it's like people complaining about like reverse racism. It's like that's not a thing. That is not a thing. Stop it. Just stop it. It's not a thing. You clearly don't understand, then, do you?
Yeah. Oh, but affirmative action's bad. So.
Oh, yeah. Of course. Okay. That's our other podcast. It's called Affirmative Action's Bad.
Right.
It's ironic.
It's ironic. Right.
It is ironic.
We do so well with ironic titles around here that that's what we call it. That was the second name for our podcast was Affirmative Action is Bad.
Yes. I often just wear a T-shirt that just says, "This T-shirt is ironic." So next time we're gonna start the Kelly Reichert Reichert-thon. I don't know. We're going to start with Kelly Reichert. And we'll talk about some new things. And we'll talk more politics. And
maybe a dangerous banger.
Maybe a dangerous banger. Yeah, we'll have to figure that out. We'll talk more disillusionment. We'll talk more things that make you happy, listener.
R.I.P. John Amos.
Because we are happy.
We are. And Chris Christopherson.
I saw that, yeah.
And the guy who played John on Days of Our Lives.
Oh, right.
Drake Hoggerson.
That's such a soap opera name, Drake Hoggerson.
Right, which was not his name on Days of Our Lives.
No, that was his real name.
Right.
That's what I meant. Like, all actors have to have names like Drake Hoggerson.
Yeah.
So that's what you have to look forward to, and more of our witty repartee.
Edge of your seats, folks.
Until
it's only 7 days.
Until that happens, thank you all for listening.
Yeah, and keep screaming. You have been listening to Why Does the Wilhelm Scream with your hosts, Brock and Jason. If you liked today's episode, do us a favor and rate, review, and subscribe in whatever application you use to consume podcasts these days. You can reach us by visiting whydoesthewilhelmscream.com. If you are in the DFW area, we would love to see you at a Fort Worth Film Club event. You can learn more about those and find a full schedule at fortworthfilmclub.com. And you can learn about my foundation and how we are trying to foster the next generation of film lovers at realhousefoundation.org. That's REEL housefoundation.org. Till next time,